what's your opinion on where you're seeing USC going with losses and the surprises? Do you think there's anything to the idea that Caleb Williams getting money in advance means he's just not as hungry as you would have been in the past to win because you already have a huge bankroll?
I don't think that's it. I think what you have right now is you have a team that had a terrible defense last year. It's not much better now. You see, like last week, they had a chance to finish off Utah. One of their talented former 5-star recruits who came from Georgia has two, really bad plays that end up costing them and give Utah more opportunity. I think you also see a team that's like Caleb covered up a lot of flaws. Not just on the defense, but on the offensive line. Their offensive line is worse this year than it was last year. And going to see them play Notre Dame in South Bend a couple weeks ago, you could see physically they did not look like what an SC offensive line should look like. And I think what happens is you can keep it on track for a while, and Caleb's a phenomenal talent, but I think there's some flaws that eventually got exposed, right? And I think you see a team that still is struggling with its identity because it's like for so long, I think they can lean on, hey, we got the best player in college football. He's going to cover it up. He's going to fix it. Well, against Notre Dame, they had 5 turnovers. He threw 3 picks in the first half. And now all of a sudden that facade, if you want to call it that, was kind of punctured or fell apart. And now, like, they played a Utah team that's a tough, physically and mentally tough team. And they were not intimidated by USC at all because they beat them twice last year. And then they ended up coming back to get them. Like, they'll play Cal this weekend. I think they'll win that game. And then they have Washington next week. Washington's loaded. And Washington, to me, is a bad matchup for them because not only do they have Michael Penix Jr. and a good system, but they have really good receivers. And USC, to me, their biggest issue, micro, is that their defensive backs are not very good. They're not playing with much confidence. They don't tackle well. They don't seem to react. They just seem like they're not playing with a lot of confidence. And I wonder if it's this. It's that they go up against Caleb Williams and a lot of firepower every day at practice, and maybe it's hard to build confidence that way.
And yet you'd think that if you're spending this much money for a head coach, these are not little errors. These are obvious. If you're spending this much money and putting this much money into a program, how do these errors keep getting exposed?
I think that they went from whatever they were 4-8 to like an 11-win team last year. They got a lot better. Certainly a lot of that was Caleb, and a lot of that was Lincoln Riley bringing an identity on offense. But they, like the schedule is a little harder this year than it was last year. I do think they're better on defense, but even it's not that much. And also, like last year, they would fall apart in the fourth quarter of games. It happened as the year went on. I think that could happen now. Like, I mean, if they go 9-3, like they're better. It's just like I think in my own read, I thought they were going to be a playoff team because I thought Caleb was that much better than everybody else. And I still think he is the best quarterback in the country, but they're not good enough in a lot of places. They don't have that much of a margin for error, And so ultimately you're going to get got 2 or 3 times. And I think that's what they are. And they just don't have enough good players. They do not have a good enough offensive line. They don't have enough quality on defense. They're kind of undisciplined. They are undisciplined. I don't think they're kind of undisciplined. They are undisciplined because that showed last week late in the game. And it shows at times. And those things, I think, Lincoln Riley, those are the things he has to get right. That they need to be a more disciplined team. They need to recruit better on the offensive line. The portal can help, but it couldn't do everything for them.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.